Good morning, YouTube. Hope everyone's having a wonderful day out there. Welcome to another episode of Life of Brian. I'm in my 2012 Mercedes SLS AMG, taking it for a quick spin, and I wanted to do a quick video on why and how I came to a decision on getting this car. For those of you who follow the channel, I had been going back and forth in terms of whether or not to get the SLS AMG or the SLR McLaren. Obviously, both are fantastic cars, supercars, generally considered some of Mercedes' greatest vehicles of all time. And there are really two things that kind of boil down to, in my mind, in terms of pulling the trigger on the SLS AMG and not the SLR McLaren. So the first one being price. The SLR McLaren is more expensive than the SLS AMG. I think on a high mileage or branded title or some sort of issues you might find, you're still going to see the SLRs out but definitely above 300, mid 300s perhaps on the low end, easily all the way up into the 400s or above. For the SLS, the lowest one that I saw, which had a lot of mileage, had like 50,000 miles on it or something. Mine has under 8. It was like 50,000 miles, and they're selling for like 169,000. So I think the range on a low mileage, good condition, clear title SLS AMGs, you're starting off at low 200s all the way up to mid 250s, and then of course you get a black series. It's well above $500,000. So the cost savings, if you can call it that, is substantial between the SLS and the SLR McLaren. But of course, you're not getting one of these cars to save a buck, right? Obviously, it's completely unnecessary expenditure. But again, I never get a car for investment or or retention value or anything like that. But the fact that these have always retained their value and have even gone up, quite frankly, that gives me some peace of mind that if I do ever need to sell the car, trade it in, whatever, I won't lose money on this car. So yeah, price wise, everything else being equal, the SLS is I don't say more of a bargain, but a little bit easier on the wallet for sure, and can easily be over 6 figures easier on the wallet. So finances, cost standpoint, that definitely was one of the two main reasons that I went with the SLS instead of the SLR. But again, when you're in this class of vehicle, when you're looking for this type of car, it's not, I'm doing it to save money. It's obviously for the fun factor, the feeling you get when you drive the car, that sort of deal. So the second, and perhaps I think even the more important reason why I went with the SLS AMG ultimately is the looks. I personally don't really like the look of the SLR McLaren. I love the butterfly doors, and from the front end, looking just straight on at the front end, the snout of the vehicle, I like that. I love the aggressive look on it. But from really every other angle, I do not like the SLR McLaren as much. The side profile I don't like as nearly as much as the SLS AMG. From behind, I don't like the look of the SLR McLaren as much. Obviously, both of them have the long hood, but it's just, in particular, the side profile, I don't like the look of the SLR McLaren. It just looks very, looks heavy, it looks big, obviously. I'm trying to think of a better word for it, but just, it looks heavy. And obviously I know that, I think it has 617 horsepower, so obviously it has sufficient power to move it around, and I think it was a 200 mile per hour car. But I don't know, bulbous. It just looks, the proportions don't look right to me. And I don't like the look of the SLR McLaren as much as I like the look of the SLS AMG. Now, I do agree with other reviewers and enthusiasts and lay people who don't necessarily like the SLS AMG from all angles, all sides. I personally agree that the rear 3/4 is not my favorite look of the car. It has a kind of a Viperish look to it, which again, I had a Viper. I don't think Vipers are ugly, but I definitely don't think the rear 3/4 is anything to write home about. But the rear is nice. The rear is nice. I would have personally, I don't like the kind of vacuum style exhaust tips in cars. I just don't like that look. I think if this would have had like a quad exhaust, like the M cars have, or something like that, I think a quad exhaust would look fantastic on this car. And I think the Black Series do have quad exhaust tips. But from the side and the front, this car is just gorgeous. Just, I mean, and this may sound kind of crazy, but if a car can be breathtaking, this car from the side and the front is breathtaking. And that's with the gull wing doors down. With the gull wing doors up, it's even more amazing. So again, from a look standpoint, putting all those things, factoring all those things together, I definitely went with what I thought looked better and what I thought I would personally enjoy looking at more often inside and out, which was the SLS AMG. I think universally, most people think it's a beautiful car. I think most people think that it's aged very well. I think most people think that it will continue to age well because, again, the car that it's based off of, which is the 300 SL Gullwing, I think, universally heralded as one of the most beautiful cars ever created. So that's definitely never going to age. And this draws a lot of inspiration, a lot of styling cues from that 300 SL. And similarly, I think it's going to age well as well. That long hood, you have to kind of see it in person, because in pictures you're like, it's kind of awkward. It's proportionally doesn't look that great, but in person it fits the car. Definitely makes the car stand out. And if you're wanting attention or that sort of deal, it definitely will give you that. Tying in real quick to my first reason, guys, and I'll wrap up with this, which is why I went with the SLS AMG, which, by the way, the interior, again, this is a 2012 car, but everything looks, very good condition. The previous owners did a good job of maintaining this car. But going back to my first reason, which is cost, which I forgot to mention, it's not just the purchase price, the sales price of the car. It's also the running cost, the maintenance costs. You guys can Google it. Many YouTube videos out there where, you go in for an oil change or change out some spark plugs or a B service or an A service, whatever, and then you get a $30,000-$40,000 invoice. To me, I mean, that's just crazy. And again, I have a lot of high-end supercars. I have a lot of cars that are not necessarily cheap. Oil changes are always going to be several $100s. So I'm not, saying, you get a car like this and operate on a string budget. But, I can't be having, annual or, semi-annual or whatever invoices for upkeep or maintenance in the tens of thousands of dollars on a consistent basis. That's just crazy. So that's really the main thing that kind of turned me off of the SLR. Again, I think it's an amazing car. I think it's a very important car. I think for certain angles, I think it's a great looking car. I think if you're looking for a unique car that not everyone has, again, it does kind of get poo-pooed on. It doesn't give us as much love as the Enzo or the Carrera GT, and rightfully so, depending on who you ask, but still, it's a fantastic car. But the thing that really, really, really turned me off of it, in addition to some of the looks and obviously just even the price of it, is the running cost, the maintenance cost. I just did not and cannot be paying that amount of money to keep a car running. And again, I maintain all my cars. Obviously, oil changes and really anything else that's recommended to me to keep the car in good running condition. I drive all my cars regularly, so they're not just sitting and get flat spots, or obviously the fluids and everything in the car need to run through, and they can't just be sitting stagnant for months or years on end. So I drive all my cars as much as I can. But for this car in particular, I remember on one car that I was looking at, they had a complete transmission service, brand new transmission put in, and which obviously that's very expensive, right? And some other things too. I think the total was like $17,000, $18,000. Which, trust me, don't get me wrong, it's a ton of money. But I think if you're, compared to the SLR McLaren, that's like, that's probably a headlight or something, right? So from what I've heard, I don't want to test this anytime soon, knock on wood, but from what I've read, these cars are pretty reliable. The transmissions will go out at some point, which again, I'm budgeting $17,000, $18,000 in the future, $20,000, whatever the case may be. Or as Hoovie's Garage said, I think $30,000, whatever, I'll budget that. There's only 8,000 miles on this car, guys, so knock on wood, I'm hoping I don't have to deal with that anytime soon. But absent that, I haven't heard anything other issues with this car. I haven't had any issues with the car in the time I've had it, so I'm hoping the running costs, the maintenance costs are low, and from my research, I think it will be. So that's really my main reason why I went with the SLS. And finally, a third reason is those magnificent gull-wing doors, guys. You will not get that unless you have a 300 SL or a DeLorean. You're not going to have gull-wing doors, and that's, like I said, is what really, really separates this car from other cars. And yeah, can't get enough of that. So those are the main reasons why I went with the SLS AMG. Again, I would have been blessed and happy to have an SLR as well, but you know, between the two, I definitely am happy that I went with the SLS instead. So let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you guys think of the SLS AMG. Any thoughts, opinions? Would love to hear about it. Hope you guys liked the video. Give it a thumbs up, comment below, like and subscribe. Please support the channel, and I hope to catch you guys in the next video. Take care. Bye bye.